I'm Geetha Gurumuthy. Michael Flynn, President Trump's former national security advisor, will be sentenced later today. Mr. Flynn pleaded guilty a year ago to lying to the FBI about his conversations with Russia's ambassador to the United States during the presidential transition.
Lock her up. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Lock her up.
The retired US Army general was one of Donald Trump's closest advisors and most ardent supporters during the 2016 campaign. He was appointed as national security advisor despite the president's predecessor, Barack Obama, warning Mr. Trump against giving Michael Flynn a top job. He was in the post for just 23 days. This is one part of the memo issued earlier this month by Special Counsel Robert Mueller, who's been investigating whether the Trump campaign colluded with Russia. It outlined that Mr. Flynn was provided substantial assistance to the inquiry. As a result, the special counsel said that Michael Flynn should not go to jail. Well, he faces a sentence of up to 6 months in prison, but could escape a custodial term entirely. Let's discuss all this now with Dr. James Boyes, an expert on US politics at the American International University here in London. Thanks very much for coming in. First of all, why is Michael Flynn's case so crucial?
It's important because he was the first headline case to have to leave the administration. And as you rightly said in your introduction there, he pleaded guilty over a year ago. His sentence has been hanging over Washington now ever since. The great question, therefore, is what has he been telling not only Robert Mueller's team, but also a whole host of other inquiries which are being launched into Donald Trump's administration, not least of which, of course, is being originated out of the Southern District of New York. The main reason he may well avoid prison time is because of the sensitive nature of the data that he has been providing to these investigations, which of course is very detrimental potentially to the Trump presidency.
Of course, we won't find out what level of cooperation he's been giving, will we?
Not today, certainly, but over the course of the coming weeks and months, it's very clear, I think, that his testimony will be needed to be provided if there is going to be any sort of public inquiry investigation into the Trump administration, and it will certainly form the basis, I imagine, of any report that Robert Mueller does indeed issue.
Will there be any political backlash if he isn't given a custodial sentence, do you think, or not?
It's difficult to see where that will come from. Certainly, I think Republicans are going to be quite mute on this. It will be interesting to see what it is that President Trump suggests. Difficult to see also why it would be that Democrats would be too hesitant with regard to this. They aren't going to start criticising Robert Mueller because, of course, he, in their view, of course, is going after their president. So I think that when we see what the sentence is that's passed down, it will be fascinating to see quite what it is, but most people, I think, are expecting no jail time for the general at this time.
This comes, of course, after the Michael Cohen case and after the midterms have provided some political swing. I mean, do we know anything more about the progress of the Mueller inquiry overall?
Well, only that it's continuing and developing and apparently getting closer and closer to the president and to his inner circle. I remind you also that it's not just the Mueller investigation that we're talking about here, but also several other investigations, including that out of the Southern District of New York, which of course was responsible for the Cohen conviction. When you look at the growing, gathering storm effectively, and you recognise that come January the Democrats are going to regain control of the House of Representatives and therefore be able to launch even more investigations, it does indeed look like 2019 is going to be a very turbulent year for Donald Trump.
Some people just briefly think, though, that it would be better for Trump to be unseated through the democratic process for the health of American democracy rather than through any of these investigations. And they think ultimately that's more likely.
That could still happen. I mean, by the time these investigations take place, of course, we're going to be heading deep into the re-election campaign of 2020. With this hanging over him and his opinion polls hovering where they are, it is entirely possible he could well be defeated by the democratic process.
Very good to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed for coming in today. Thank you, Dr. James Boyes.